Welcome to Collecting Chaos and my New Year's Eve, my Christmas Eve show. I can't even figure out what day it is. How about that? Uh, Wave of Mutilation says, wonder what Collecting Chaos has for us tonight. So do I. I'm invited a couple of people. I don't know if they'll show up or not. If they do, I'll bring them on. If they don't, well, they might have other things that they're doing. And that's okay. That's fine if they're doing other things. A little bit later, I might open it up to the chat to come in and say Merry Christmas. Give a short little greeting to everybody. It depends on how many people I have show up and what's going on. And yeah, we can always have some fun that way. My other monitor wasn't showing what it should be showing, so I had to update it. Lily, how are you doing today? Glad you could stop in. And like I said, we'll see who shows up and who doesn't. I have a little something I'm going to read a little bit later, or I might read it earlier. You never know. It depends. Like I said, if people show up, that's great. If they don't show up, I'll just go with what I want. I'm glad everybody. I'm just hoping everybody is well and is having a good time and having a wonderful Christmas over the next couple of days. The way I look at it, it's always a good day. It's a good day because I wake up. I have very low criteria on what makes a good day. A good day is the day you wake up and can get out of bed. That's a good day. Any other day is a mediocre day. If you wake up and you can't get out of bed, the day's a little messed up, but it could still be a good day. So we all have to see what's going on there. Like I said, we'll see who all shows up, if anybody. And I got something kind of interesting today. I was going through a box, pulling up all my Marvel comics and sorting them so I could get ready to do my inventory. And I discovered something I didn't know I had. This is a comic that came out of the Punisher DVD. And I guess it was from the TV show. I don't know for sure. But yeah, it's from the Punisher DVD. And so I put it in one of my small digest size Mylar screen sleeves, and I'll hang on to that because it's kind of cool. I've also made it so that other people that join me, if they want to stream it to their stream, they can do that. It depends. Like I said, it depends on who else joins me, if anybody. And if nobody else joins, well, that's okay. I'll do something. I've got something planned. Got through some of the comics that I was working on, or some of the Marvels. I'm up to the letter M right now, and that's a big number. That's a big letter because you've got Marvel Tales, Marvel Team Up, Marvel Spotlight, Marvel Premiere, Marvel. Marvel everything, Marvel superheroes, Marvel this, Marvel that, Marvel collector's items, Marvel classic comics, just on and on and on. There must be 200 or 300 different comic titles that start with Marvel. A lot of them I'm not even going to try. I'm just, okay, these, put them over there, see if anybody wants to buy them. It's just, there's too much. And Marvel isn't something that is on my list of things that I'm going to collect, with the exception of a few titles. There's a few titles that I want to get. I want to complete runs of Moon Knight. I've got almost all of them already, so that's not a big problem. Werewolf by Night, I have most of those already. Tomb of Dracula, I have most of those already. You know, the Creatures on the Loose, Tomb of yeah. I've got most of those already. Masters of Kung Fu, or Master of Kung Fu, I have most of those already. I have most of the Marvel premieres now. I have a lot of the Marvel Spotlight. I don't have anywhere close to most of them, but I do have a pretty good chunk of them. Let's see what else. Marvel, Daredevil. I've got almost a full long box of Daredevil. Of course, there's like 600 or 700 of them now. The Incredible Hulk, I'm going to keep the ones that I have. I don't know if I'm going to add to it or not. But that's it. Yeah, most of what I want is the Marvel horror from the 70s, the reprints. And then I've got some older stuff that I'm going to hang on to. You know, Marines in Action, Marines in Battle. I'm going to keep those. Yeah, Gene Colan did Daredevil, and he did Tomb of Dracula. I don't know. I don't think he worked on Moon Knight. I don't remember him working on Moon Knight. But yeah, Conan. I'm going to keep my Conans and probably try to complete that run. I have most of the first 150. So it's the later issues and that's good because the later issues are easier to come by and they're a lot less expensive than the early issues. I've got like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then it's scattered up until around number 20. And then it's pretty solid up to about 150. So, and that's John Buscema. Most of that is John Buscema. So that's I like that stuff that he did. I was going to collect Thor, but I've decided against it, and that's why I was selling off some of my Thor before. I have nearly a full run of Wolverine from 1 to about 170. I'll probably sell those at some point. I still have a lot of X-Men, although I have started selling those off. So, yeah, there's a lot of Marvel comics that I'm going to be selling. Not because I don't like Marvel. It's just I can't collect everything. And I've had people that come at me and say, well, why don't you like new comics? New comics are great. No, they're not. I didn't buy any of the new Superman after Bendis left because I was so disillusioned and disappointed with the way Bendis handled it. And turns out those were really supposed to be really good stories, and I missed out on them. I'll probably go back and buy them eventually, but yeah, I didn't get them when they came out because I wasn't buying new comics, and I'm not buying. The reason I don't buy new comics is, don't get me wrong, the covers on the new comics blow the old covers away 99% of the time. And then you open it up and go, what the hell is this crap? Because the interior art doesn't match the cover. You know, it's flat. It's very much like, well, it's just not art that, it's not the art that I grew up on. It's not the Gene Colan, the Barry Smith, John Buscema, Sal Buscema, Neil Adams, Steranko. It's not in that quality. A lot of the artists, I'm sure they know how to do anatomy, but they found other ways to do it, so they don't. So, Wave of Mutilation. Glad you could stop in. As to what we're going to do tonight, it depends on if I get any guests or not. I threw out a couple of invitations, and if they show up, great. And if they don't show up, that's okay too. Uh, might throw out a couple more, but a lot of people are busy tonight, and I understand that because it's Christmas Eve and people want to be with their families. So. Most of the comics that I have read, with the exception of the Zenescope is quality art, quality stories. No problem with those at all. They're a little expensive, but it's worth the quality. Uh, most of the comics that I've bought over the last couple of years that I've tried to read, and I have read some of them, they just don't seem to be, they're not doing the characters the way the characters should be done. You've got these long histories of these characters, and all of a sudden you get a new writer on it, and the history's thrown out the window, and they do whatever they want. These characters are established. That's what they need. Well, that's all right. We just appreciate you being here. Kenneth Bird, glad you could stop in. Yeah, I understand. Half the world is already in Christmas. That's okay. And we'll be in Christmas, and you'll be in Boxing Day, and that's understandable too. But yeah, if none of my guests show up in the net pretty quick here, I'm just going to cut it short. I kind of wanted to talk and to them and see what they were up to, and get a little bit more information about them for the chat. But if they're busy, that's okay. It's one of those things that happens. And I might do that again. I might do this again at a later date. Uh, I have thousands of comics that I still need to read. And I'm not talking about new ones. I'm talking about old ones that I haven't read yet. Just because time, it takes time to sit down and do that. I had some sausage with kimchi and rice for my lunch, and that was excellent. Chicken thighs are good. I'll have some chicken tomorrow. Well, not really chicken, it's Cornish hen. For Christmas, I usually stuff a Cornish hen with some peppers and rice and other stuff. Do a roast on it. So yeah, it's good to see people that in chat come in. And like I said, I did invite a few people. If they decide to come, that's great. And if they don't decide to come, well, that's okay. It's understandable. Yeah. Roy, that's Horizon Picks. He was really mean to me the other day. He photographed a plate of bacon and sent it to me. And I didn't have any bacon, and that wasn't fair. James Willie, glad you could stop in. I hope you have a great Christmas. I don't care about football. You know that. I quit caring about football a few years back. Yeah. Well, every now and then, though, the big two will surprise you and throw something out there that's really good. But mostly it's just cookie cutter stuff that it's, you read the story back in the 90s, and here they're telling it again. So, yeah, why don't we just read it in the 90s? How many times do we have to see Secret Wars? Really? Uh, It's an established character that suddenly is no longer the established character. That doesn't work for me. You want to have that, you want to have a character with those traits, or doing what you want, make a new character. Don't take an old character that has an established history and changing, or change her. It's not right. It's taking, 60, 70 years or 80 years of history with a character, flush it down the toilet, because they want to do something different. Well, if you want to do something different, do something different. Don't take an old character and make them something they're not supposed to be. And we've seen that happen a bunch of times. It Not so much. I mean, yeah, Iceman, I can see that maybe possibly happening, because when when was he ever? When did he ever show any interest in women anyway? None of the books that I ever read. I mean, I read the first 60 or 70 X-Men, and then they started doing reprints, and I quit buying it. And then 2 or 3 months after I quit buying it, of course, they came out with the new X-Men, and that's a whole other story. But yeah, I read all of those old issues back when they were coming out, and I don't remember that. Yeah, there's a lot of keys that I've sold over the years that I didn't want. I've got this thing flying around that's annoying me. Uh, that happens when you live in a house that's over 100 years old. My house is actually older than I am, so that's saying something, right? Yeah, I've got some of the things that I pulled out of my collection today. I mean, I had 2 or 3 copies of this, and this was what uh, you ordered Marvel Comics out of when they owned their own distributions company, Heroes Distribution. And I've got a few of those that I'll probably offer up for sale. I'm not selling anything tonight. Yeah, I'll probably offer that up for sale. Actually, there's no probably about it. I'm going to offer that up for sale. Found some more Superman. Uh, I've got a duplicate of this, so I'm going to offer that up for sale. Marvel Saga #4. Origin of Thor. And this is all stuff I dug out that that I didn't know I had. That I'm not planning on keeping. So this I have like 3 or 4 copies of this, so I'll offer one up for sale. Double feature. Spider-Man manga, or manga Spider-Man, whatever it was. We've got a bunch of those. There was another comic in here. Marvel Super Action. Had a key in here that I wanted to. I don't know where it is. I mean, I've got some Marvel Zombie books. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know where that key is. It's probably still in the other room. But yeah, I have all of the Marvel features with Red Sonja in them. I didn't realize I had them all, but I do. So that was kind of neat. Didn't know I had them all. I probably have most of the Red Sonias that came out that Frank Thorne did as well. So yeah, I've got. I do have a copy of Marvel Tales, Tales, which has, of course, that has Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham, in it, and I've got that, and I'll probably hang on to that one because I like it. Yeah, Forbush Man. There's no C in Forbush Man unless you're talking about Forbush Man who drinks a lot of Bud. Uh, Traveling on the Bud, right? Goose Rider, yeah. I've got a lot of Ghost Rider comics. So I'm going to hang on to them for a little while. I've got a lot of Doctor Strange that I'm going to hang on to for a while. Uh, of course, having most of the Marvel premieres, of course, I have a lot of Doctor Strange. This Doctor Strange started, I think, in issue number 3 and went on for like 15 or so issues. Yes, I have Devil's Angel. It's Frank Thorne. Of course, I have it. Frank Thorne is one of those artists that I really like, and I'm going to hang on to him. I don't have everything he's ever done, but I have a lot of it. I have most of the Ghost Rider Marvel Spotlight issues with the Ghost Rider in it. I don't have I think number 5, which was his first one. Let's see, it was Marvel Spotlight was Red Wolf for the first issue, and then Werewolf by Night for 3 issues, and then Ghost Rider, I believe, started with issue number 5. Hi, Vanessa. How are you doing tonight? Glad you could stop in. I went through and dug out because I'm almost finished showing uh, the title for DC that start with the letter A, but then I went, well, wait a minute, I've got some others that are mixed in later on because I found them after or when I was going through my comics after I'd already done my inventory, added them in later. So I pulled those out, and those will be like in the first 4 days of this week, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I'll pick it back up. And then I'm going to have to do the same thing for B because I have some Batmans that I found that I didn't know I had. As you go through comics, you find a lot of stuff you didn't know you had, especially when you have the quantity of them that I have in the other room. I think 100 short boxes and so far 6 long boxes of Marvel comics that I've inventoried. Might be more. No, 110 short boxes and 6 long boxes of Marvels so far. I'm putting the Marvel comics in long boxes because I don't plan on getting them out very often. So yeah, I've got a few. Let's see. Uh, if I would, I'd offer to sell you one and send it to you, but Australia cost a little bit. You'd have to pay quite a bit for shipping on that. Uh, I have those for $15 plus shipping. I have 3 or 4 of them still. But that's Joe Jusko. That's the Joe Jusko Vampirella. And of course, I have other Vampirillas also that are signed by various artists, including a small sketch by Amanda Connor from the 90s, back when she was just getting started. So yeah, that's yeah. I keep meaning to buy a frame for that Vampirilla poster, and I keep forgetting when I go to the store. So they had those posters available. Oh, no, what? Amanda Connor? No, I saw her at a convention at a WonderCon when WonderCon was still in Oakland, California. Oh, I told Santa to bypass my house and just go to the kids that need the toys. I have enough toys. Michael, glad you could stop in. Glad you could come by and check it out. Just having a little chat with people here in the chat. Sent out some invitations to some people. If they show up, fine. If they don't, that's okay too. Because, like I said, I understand people are busy this time of the year, and especially this evening. But if you have any questions for me, just ask them. I'm pretty much an open book. I'll tell you whatever, uh, except my home address. Although one or two of you have that, yeah, that's okay. No, Amanda Connor never made it to my store. She talked about it one time, but she never made it over there. But I had some regulars that used to stop in. I used to like it when slave labor graphics would come out with some new books, and all of a sudden you just show up out of nowhere and here, I figured you didn't remember to order these. Yeah, okay. I'll pay you when they sell. Okay. And that's what happened, you know. Uh, when I closed up shop, I gave him everything back, of course. Not going to mess with that. But I bought a number of them too. I have some other Vampirilla stuff. I have a few Vampirilla toys over here, I think. No, that's Wonder Woman. Like I said, I have a few Vampirillas. And then, of course, I have the statue that I painted, but I'm not going to get that out right now. Uh, this box is coming apart, though. That annoys me to no end. They didn't do a very good job of sealing the box. And then there's the thing that annoys me to no end because World of Warcraft made her a villain. Sylvanas Windrunner, the Banshee Queen. And I put that one in a case so to keep the dust off of it. some neat stuff. That was my favorite NPC, and they messed it up. I don't know if I have any of those left or not. I used to have a bunch of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, but I don't know if I still have any or not. Oh, yeah. I started reading Bone with the first issue. I don't know what happened to it. I think that's one of the comics I lost in the flood was my Bone collection, and yeah, disappointing. But I do have the hardback still. I forgot about the Delver Discord, or I would have gone ahead and put a link on there. Okay. It looks like it's made for children, but it isn't, and it's very well written. Jeff Smith is awesome with the way he does artwork. It's well laid out. It's easy to read. Um, it's a good book, you know. Uh, there were a lot of really good books that came out in the 80s and 90s that nobody ever heard of. Nobody ever bothered buying. And it's a shame because they were really good. Um, Tales from the Bog is another one that's really good. People thought, well, that's cartoony. I don't want that. That's not superhero. That's no good. Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. It's really good stuff. You have to remember a lot of the comics and things like that. Don't forget to say, glad you could stop in. A lot of those are those comics from this 80s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everybody thinks it's for kids, but it isn't. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was for adults, very adult oriented. Alien Legion is a good example. That was a really good, yeah. Ah, Marcus Lusk. Yeah, he did Tales from the Bog. Great comic. Boris the Bear. It's another great comic. It's way underestimated, way undervalued in my opinion. The writing in it is really good, and it's a satire on the entire comics industry if you think about it, and that's what makes it really good. But yeah, I like Alien Legion. I have most of them. That's something I plan on keeping. Is most of the epic comics that I have. Uh, Gru the Wanderer. What can you say? It's one of the best books out there. Glad you could stop in, Patrick. And I think I got your package off yesterday because you paid me fast. So I threw a little card in there and shipped it. I'm pretty sure I sent it out yesterday. But like I said, there's a lot of comics out there that people just they didn't give it any credit to. They didn't pay attention to, and a lot of them were really good. And it's a shame. More people should check out some of those little known comics, because you never know. You might get hooked on them. You might discover something that's good. Yeah, the early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original ones. Yeah. Uh, I've never read Yellow Dog. You got me on that one, so I don't know anything about that one. Can't make an informed decision about something I haven't read. But I'm always showing books that people don't don't give a second look to. Probably have some right in here. Somewhere in here, I probably have some. A lot of people bypass these. Don't bypass them. Read them. Good stuff. Nemesis the Warlock. It's good stuff. But what do I know? I read Archie comics, you know. Ryan, glad you could stop in and say hi. Hope you've had a great Christmas season so far. Hope you made lots of money at your shop. And yes, we will see you in 2024. Oh, okay. Disney's another good one. A lot of stuff in this that came out from Disney in the 80s and 90s that people aren't familiar with. Lumberjanes is not for kids. Sorry. No, it's not. People think it is. No, it isn't. Patty Cake. That's a good comic. Very cartoony. Really good comic. I had a feeling you were familiar with Nemesis Wave of Mutilation. It's one of those ones that uh, yeah, it originated in there you go, Southern Nights. That was good. Um, what is it? Knights of the Dinner Table. I enjoyed reading that too. And that was just gag D&D gags basically. There's more comics that I can think of. Yeah, well, I started reading comics in 1960s, so in literally in 1960. So I was reading Superman, I was reading Batman, I was reading Our Army at War, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Green Arrow. I was reading all the DC stuff. Patrick Murphy, glad you could stop in, buddy. And the reason I was reading that stuff was there was no Marvel comics. I didn't discover Marvel comics until the late 60s and had to scramble to get the back issues so I could figure out what was going on. Yep. Of course, there's Judge Dredd. Everybody knows about Judge Dredd. But the early issues of Judge Dredd are great if you can find them. Oh yeah, 2000 AD. There you go. They had all that good stuff in it, as well as some really great artists. A lot of great artists came out of the 2000 AD. For 90s comics, to me, must reads for the 90s. Uh, for the DC line, it's Vertigo stuff. Most of the Vertigo stuff is amazing. Sandman, Hellblazer, which is John Constantine, and Preacher. Those are top tier for the 90s DC stuff. And but there's a lot of other good stuff that came out too. Scarlet was a good comic that came out at that time. There was some other vampire. DC dabbled in some vampires for a little while that were pretty good. Uh, for Marvel, actually, there wasn't that much in the 90s that Marvel came out with that was really spectacular. A lot of it was just rehashing old stuff. Yep. Yep. Yeah. DC wasn't stupid. They grabbed everybody they could. They grabbed a lot of those good writers and put them to work. Swamp Thing is another top tier comic from Vertigo. The DC Comics versions were okay, but when they got to be Vertigo, they went nuts. Good stuff. Doom Patrol. A lot of people don't like those early Doom Patrol issues that DC did in the 80s. So I sat down and I reread them. And I still like them. So the people that didn't like it, the hell with them. Valiant was an interesting thing. I read the blurb on Valiant on what was the first comic? Arbinger. Arbinger was the first Valiant comic, and I read the blurb on it in the Previews magazine, and I went to my local comic shop and I said, I want 10 of these. He went, okay. He marked me down for 10. When it came out, I had 2 in my box. I said, where's my other 8? He said, well, I had other people that ordered it and I didn't get enough. So I'm going to sell. And I went, no, those are mine. I ordered them. You need to give them to me. And he was just, we were on the outs about that for a while. We did eventually make up, but yeah, he was not my best friend in the world when he did that, because I saw it as a chance. That was a book that I was speculating hard on, and that's why I wanted 10 copies, because I figured save it for a couple of years. I'm gonna get 25-30 bucks a piece for them. Little did I know, in 2 or 3 years, I sold both of my copies, $300 a piece. Never bothered getting new ones, but I need to someday because I do like the Arbinger series. Malibu was a great series, or the Ultraverse comics was a great series. Unfortunately, Marvel bought Malibu and screwed them all up. Dark Horse came out with a lot of good stuff, but Dark Horse was getting all of the movie stuff. They were getting Indiana Jones. They were getting Predator. They were getting uh, pretty much everything. Batman versus Judge Dredd is a good crossover. They did 2 or 3 of those. I don't remember how many. They did 2 or 3 of them though. And Batman versus Predator was another good one. They did a Superman versus Alien that was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good. Jason, haven't seen you for a while. Uh, all of it's good stuff, and people forget about it. Yeah, when Marvel took them over, they just and shortly after Marvel took over Ultraverse, they discovered they couldn't publish it because it was creator owned and they couldn't get the rights. They didn't own the rights to those characters. That's why they only published a few issues of them. They still can't publish them because they're having troubles with the rights to them because the rights are owned by the creators. Gunsmith Cats was the first manga book I actually read. Well, no, I take it back. It wasn't Gunsmith Cats. It was I can't think of it. It was another one. Gunsmith Cats was about the third book manga book that I got into. I can't remember the first one that I started reading. That was part of the reason. I believe that was part of the reason, and that's the official reason. Personally, I think Malibu was starting to take too much of their market share, and they said screw that and bought them. Because if you think about it, there's a lot of books that weren't creator owned that were published by Malibu that Marvel never touched. They never published any of them. Yeah. First and Comico put out a lot of good comics. Well, Comico didn't last that long, but they did put out a lot of good comics. And of course, a lot of the first comics were originally published by PC, Pacific Comics, which was a, a distribution center. Pacific Comics. They were a distribution center that also published some comics. They were the first ones to publish Gru. They were the first ones to publish some of Mike Grell's work. Comico did Grendel, yes. I have most of those. I have a lot of Comico comics. That's on my list of things I might want to try to get all of. Maybe after I get all of the PC comics. I'm still missing some of those. And I'm missing some that I thought I had. Hopefully, I'll find them as I continue to go through the comics I've got and catalog them all. Yeah. Well, Malibu, people don't realize this, but Malibu actually at one time published more comic books than DC. They were publishing more comics every month than DC at one time because they had about 7 or 8 different imprints that they were publishing under. Now Comics was another good one that people don't remember. Caliber did more than the Crow. People remember it for the Crow, but they did a lot of other stuff too. As a matter of fact, I think Caliber was the one that was publishing the Martian Invasion for a while. The War of the Worlds, I believe, was being published by Caliber for a while, and it was based off the H.G. Wells War of the Worlds story. But they had some other imprints. They were doing a lot of stuff. But Comico did Grendel, and then First, I think, did Grendel for a while. And Dark Horse also published Grendel in the 90s uh, after Comico went belly up. Actually, the original Tim Vigil stuff was published by his own publishing company, uh, Rebel Studios, I believe, was the original, was the ones that published the Tim Vigil stuff originally. Yeah, I was going through when I was going through my independent comics and I got to the Ars and Rebel Studio, I had to stop and read the Tim Vigil stuff again because it's always a good feeling when you open that flap and you see his signature on it. You go, yeah, I remember when he signed that. And then you keep going through the comic. Mm. And there's some other stuff that was good too. I mean, I don't remember. Avatar didn't last too long, I don't think. Well, I think I'm going to. Yeah, it. He just took that to a whole nother level throughout. I think I have the first Hellboy, not Hellboy number one, but his first Hellboy story. I think it was in Marvel, or it was in Dark Horse Comics Presents. I can't remember for sure. I think it was like number 2 or 3 or something like that. Yeah, a lot of people were supposedly going to cross over with Spawn, but it never happened. I'd love to see a Tim Vigil drawn Spawn comic. That would be awesome. Yes, it was. Actually, I think they started publishing it again. I'm not sure. I know I've got some from the 2000s, some somewhere in the 2000s that were square bound, and they started the numbering over, and then they went back to the old numbering system. And then Dark Horse tried their own superhero line, and it just didn't go anywhere. Oh, Cerebus isn't. Maybe Cerebus is slept on now, but back in the '90s, it was hard to find a Cerebus comic for sale, and you were not going to find back issues. Back issues were not to be found when it comes to Cerebus because people loved it. And they got them and they kept them. Cerebus, of course, was the first independent comic to hit 300 issues. Wasn't Spawn. Spawn was the first to go 301. Cerebus was the first to go 300. But the guy that did Cerebus always said once he got to 300, that was it. The story was done. did do a 301. It's a postcard. Yeah, I hope you have a Merry Christmas too, and be sure to check back tomorrow and watch the ending of the show. Okay, you might get a kick out of it. Speaking of which, I think I'm just going to go ahead and end it, but I have a Christmas present for everybody. This is an old story, and I'm sure many of you have heard it before, but I decided it's something I want to do tonight, and so I will. It's A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement Clarke Moore. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on a lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With the little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop those coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it circled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was a chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying a finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, as he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.